Transhumanism. It sounds futuristic, even utopian, an ideology that promises the enhancement of human capabilities through advanced technology, from eye integration to genetic modifications and cybernetic implants. But while it paints a picture of a perfect future where humanity transcends its biological limits, there are a growing number of critics who argue that transhumanism isn't just flawed, it could be downright dangerous. Let's take a deeper look at the criticisms of transhumanism, a movement that, despite its appeal, raises profound ethical, social, and existential questions about the direction we're heading as a species. First off, let's tackle the philosophical aspect of transhumanism. At its core, this movement is driven by the desire to enhance human abilities and perhaps even achieve immortality. We're talking about things like uploading consciousness to machines, eradicating aging, or modifying our bodies and minds to overcome disease or disabilities. On the surface, these ideas might sound appealing, even revolutionary. Who wouldn't want to live longer, healthier lives, or potentially cure what were once considered incurable diseases? Heck, I'd love to skip over the getting out of bed phase and go straight to life of luxury in my shiny new cybernetic body. But here's the issue: what does it really mean to be human? What do you think? Are we better off embracing our biological limits, or is upgrading humanity the next logical step? Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. The very concept of transhumanism seems to be built on the premise that our biological limitations are inherently undesirable and that humanity, as we know it, is somehow flawed. But here's the problem: by focusing so heavily on improvement and enhancement, transhumanists risk devaluing what makes us human in the first place. Our imperfections, our struggles, our mortality, these aspects of the human experience are not just part of us, they help define who we are. Think about it: if we never had to deal with aging or disease, would we even know what it feels like to fight for something or appreciate our limited time on this planet? If we were all just immortal robots in a post-human utopia, who would we be really? Maybe it's just me, but I think there's something beautiful about being human that we might miss if we go too far with the upgrade. Let's talk about the ethical implications, shall we? The most immediate concern about transhumanism is its potential to create a massive divide between those who have access to these technologies and those who do not. In the current world, we already see vast inequalities in access to healthcare, education, and even basic resources. Now, just imagine a future where the wealthy elite can afford genetic enhancements, neural implants, or life-extending therapies, while the majority of people are stuck with their limited mortal biology. We could create a two-tier society: the enhanced and the MEH, not enhanced. Imagine walking into a room, and there's one guy with a built-in brain upgrade, and you're over here just trying to figure out where you left your phone. Talk about feeling inferior. This isn't a better future, this is a recipe for an even more divided society. And I don't know about you, but I'd prefer not to live in a world where genetic lottery winners get to enjoy eternal life while the rest of us just get, well, less of it. By the way, if you're enjoying this breakdown of transhumanism, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. We dive into complex topics like this all the time, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. And then there's the issue of consent. Transhumanism often involves invasive technologies implanting chips in our brains, modifying our genetic code, or uploading our consciousness into machines. But who gets to decide if these technologies are used? Will these enhancements be mandatory, or will people be allowed to opt out? What about future generations? Imagine being born into a world where your parents could have already made the decision to genetically modify you for intelligence, strength, or, I don't know, a better sense of humor. Is that something you want decided for you? Is it still you if you didn't have a choice? Because personally, I'd like to keep my sense of self, warts, bad decisions, and questionable taste in music. Thank you very much. What do you think? Would you opt into these technologies, or do you think some things should be left as they are? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Let's not overlook the societal impact of transhumanism. What happens when we begin to merge with machines or artificially extend human life indefinitely? Well, for starters, overpopulation. If people stop aging or dying prematurely, where do we find the resources to support an ever-growing population? We're already stretching our global resources thin. Imagine a future where everyone is living to 200 and suddenly, the planet is filled with not just a lot more people, but a lot more cranky old people complaining about how the young folks don't respect their cybernetic genetic wisdom. It's all fun and games until you're stuck on a crowded, 150-year-old spaceship trying to get through rush hour. Moreover, the technological aspect of transhumanism isn't without its risks. While proponents of the movement emphasize the incredible potential of technologies like genetic engineering, and brain-computer interfaces, we must also consider the darker side. For instance, could outpace human intelligence and evolve in ways we can't predict or control. I mean, remember when we couldn't even trust AI to recommend a good movie? Now, we're talking about letting it run our lives? Great idea. It's like giving a toddler a flamethrower and hoping they only use it to light birthday candles. What happens when these machines start making decisions for us? What if our enhanced brains are manipulated by algorithms designed to influence us or control our actions and privacy? If we're merging with AI, what happens to our thoughts, memories, and even our emotions? Who owns them? In a world where personal data is already being sold like a commodity, will we become digital assets, our most intimate thoughts and experiences packaged and sold for profit? It's not hard to imagine a future where we're not just connected to the cloud, but we're the product. I don't know about you, but I'm not excited to find out that my deepest, darkest secrets are now available on the black market. You want to sell me your soul? No, thanks. Mine's under contract with a whole other entity called my privacy. Are you concerned about privacy in a transhuman world? Or do you think data ownership is just a necessary part of progress? Drop a comment below and let's discuss. Finally, transhumanism raises profound existential questions. If we can upload our consciousness into a machine or live forever, what happens to the concept of self? If we live forever, do we lose our sense of urgency? If you had all the time in the world, would you really care about the small things? Or would you just be on your 400th vacation to Mars, trying to figure out whether or not you miss being human? I'm pretty sure at some point, the search for immortality would turn into an existential crisis. After all, what's the point of living forever if everything eventually just becomes a tedious rerun? Some critics also argue that transhumanism at its extreme is an attempt to play God. Humans have always sought to improve themselves and their circumstances, but when we start tinkering with the fundamental nature of our being, editing our DNA, altering our minds, and essentially rewriting what it means to be human, we enter dangerous moral territory. It's one thing to extend life expectancy, but another thing entirely to design the perfect human being. And let's be real, are we even qualified to make that call? I'd rather leave my perfect human design up to, nature, rather than a scientist trying to perfect the art of being human while holding a lab coat and a really expensive coffee. And let's not forget the unintended consequences. Technology moves fast, often faster than we can fully understand or control it. We've seen this with social media, algorithms, and even genetic technologies. The law of unintended consequences means that every advancement comes with risks we haven't yet anticipated. So if we give ourselves superhuman powers or upload our consciousness, who knows what could go wrong? Maybe we'll all end up as sentient robots arguing on Twitter all day, trying to figure out if we've become the next big thing or if we're just stuck in a loop of digital angst. If you've made it this far, I'm guessing you're pretty invested in this conversation. So go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you want to dive into more deep discussions like this. I promise the future is going to need more critical voices like yours. In conclusion, transhumanism, while filled with potential, raises deeply troubling issues that cannot be ignored. The idea of improving human life through technology is seductive, but we must ask ourselves, at what cost? Are we willing to risk our humanity, our freedom, and our moral compass in pursuit of immortality, superhuman abilities, or a world where technology controls us more than we control it? In our pursuit of perfection, we may inadvertently create a future that is far from ideal. So perhaps the true question we need to ask ourselves is, what is the price of transcending what it means to be human? And are we willing to pay it without truly knowing what we're giving up?